Then we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very great morning to you. It's Friday, the 26th day in the month of July 2024. I'm Uyag Mofwegwe, welcoming you to Global Morning today. Jumai Manson, my colleague, is again, as expected, on the show. This morning, Jumai, good to see you.
Good to see you, Uyi. How you doing today?
You look like a Friday. I look great.
It's Friday. TGIF to each and every one of us out there. Yes, it is a Friday morning. I am Jumai Manson. Uyi, what's going on? We're twinning. Why are you wearing red?
Maybe a bit of a coincidence, but for me, I think it looks pleasant.
It does. It looks really, really pleasant. All right, it's great to be here side by side with my colleague and very good friend.
Right.
It's great to have you here. Thank God we're alive. Thank God, despite back and forth with with protests going on, all of these hardship people say, and the effort the government are trying to make to create that balance. Let's just keep hope alive and be happy, be positive, and know that Nigeria will be great again.
Yes, it will be. It may not even look it for some people for whatever reason, but it sure will be. I've been talking every chance I get recent months with people around me, colleagues, friends, and all of that. And I say Nigeria can take, of course, Nigerians too, take a cue from countries who have been here. I mean, look at Singapore, for example.
Exactly.
It may look far-flung. Look at United Arab Emirates, the one we normally would call Dubai.
Oh, yes.
The difference and the final analysis is just the quality of leadership you bring to the table.
Very true.
Once we get that right across board, whether it's federal, states, or local, even the traditional institution, you realize that we could even attain that level of development and growth faster than these other countries. Just for perspectives, a few decades ago, Malaysia had been to a few countries, to look for support, economically, partnership and collaboration and all of that. All right. In fact, they even came to Nigeria to pick a sample palm, all right, palm seedling, which again has changed the narrative economically to a very large extent. They came to Nigeria to pick that up. In fact, what we used to call the Midwestern state back in the day and all of that. All right. So we've had that history. Singapore, their pioneer Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew, blessed memory, had also been to Nigeria to look for help in the 70s. And he had gone to Malaysia at the point to say, look, can we not just align, as it were, economically and otherwise, as a country, because they were also challenged on all fronts. But what happened? He brought leadership to the table. And it was just a matter of a few decades when Singapore moved from a third world country to a first world country.
Exactly.
And he wrote a book about it as well, all right? And that book so I'm just saying that to say that once we get it right at the level of leadership, everything else, including issues around our critical sectors, will fall in place. So in the meantime, we all continue to believe in Nigeria. That works for us all. Because no matter where we go to ultimately, this is the country God blessed us with. He obviously didn't make a mistake, making us Nigerians and putting us here. So let the fixing begin.
Let the fixing begin. I like when you said let the fixing begin. And truth be told, for me, I think it's the passage of the message that counts and how the leadership absorbs it and makes a difference and find that balance and solution when it comes to making amends and making sure everything aligns with what the people are dealing with. And there is that balance and everything becomes sure and everything becomes okay. Like you said, let's believe in Nigeria. This is the only country we have, basically. When you go out, you'll be grateful to God that you are a Nigerian because of the laxity and the freedom in which we have. Some foreigners actually come here and they have that freedom, and you'll be surprised when you travel over to their country. It's not as the freedom in which they have here, we have over there. So this is Nigeria. We must all join hands together to make it great again. And our leadership should please try and do the right thing to fix our country, because we voted you in power means we trust your judgment. We believe you can take this country to a bigger and higher level. So I believe everyone coming together, all hands on deck, everything is going to be fine with time.
It will be. It will be. But for things to be fine for some people at this point in time of their day, they also want to talk about breakfast.
Exactly.
Yes, they want to quickly make a decision as to what they want to have. It's past 7 in West Africa, so a lot of persons either have had breakfast or they are just having thoughts running in their heads as to what they're going to have. Some of us normally would plan it the previous night, but if work becomes a bit
like
demanding, we keep the main thing. I'm sure Jumai and Chonganamel Joseph have cooked up something.
Something delicious and tasty. But you know, like for me, I know I've been letting the cat out of the bag, telling you what we're having, what we're going to be teaching you. Today, I am not. Get your pen and paper, sit back, relax, and listen to Chonganamel Joseph as she teaches us something delicious and mouth-watering. Stay tuned.
Good morning and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we'll be making homemade pancakes. Homemade pancakes have the perfect texture, fluffy on the inside and crispy on the outside, made with ingredients we always have at hand, like flour, baking powder, sugar, salt, milk, eggs, and butter. While they are delicious on their own, you can customize them with your favorite add-ins. Once you try from scratch pancakes, you will never look at boxed mixes the same way again. Homemade pancakes are just as easy to whip up and taste so much better. For the ingredients you need: all-purpose flour, spoon into measuring cup and leveled off, baking powder, sugar, salt, eggs, milk plus more if necessary, unsalted butter, melted and slightly cooled plus more for cooking, vegetable oil for cooking. Now, the step-by-step instruction in making your pancakes: all you need is a large bowl, whisk together the flour, baking powder, sugar, and salt. In a medium bowl, whisk the egg and milk until evenly combined. Pour the milk and egg mixture and the melted butter into the dry ingredient and whisk until just combined. If the batter seems too thick, add 1 to 2 tablespoons more milk. Heat a large griddle or non-stick pan over medium heat, coat it lightly with vegetable oil, and swirl in a thin part of butter. Ladle or drop the batter onto the griddle using approximately 1/4 cup of each pancake. Cook until the first side is golden brown, or until the top surface bubbles and it's dotted with holes. Flip and cook until the other side is golden brown. This happens quickly, so pick after 30 seconds and watch carefully. Adjust the heat setting if necessary. Wipe the griddle clean with a paper towel between batches. Serve immediately. Now your homemade pancake is ready. Serve immediately with maple syrup and enjoy. That is all for Taste and Texture today. Bye.
All right, what a delicious breakfast there. Pancakes, yep, that's what it is, Mr. Agbomofuigbe. Have you had pancakes before?
Yes, I have. I've had pancakes. It's just that it's not something I have very often, and I think it's nice.
You think?
Yes,
it is nice.
Well,
which one?
Well,
no, foodies like ourselves, we gang up against you if you say that again.
No, it is nice indeed.
Exactly.
The only thing is, every other time it's a matter of coincidence. I get somebody who is eating it and they invite me, I join. You know, I just walk into it and then I join. All right, I wish it's something I can get a chance to eat more often. You know, things like I think pancakes are pretty cool.
Really,
yes,
really nice. You can have that with tea, with coffee, with juice. It will definitely go. And there's something called roll-up pancakes.
Yeah, roll-up pancakes.
Roll-up pancakes is where you stuff in eggs or sausages and you roll it up.
Just to beef it up.
Just to, you're a foodie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've gotten the certificate award
and I feel proud of myself.
Yep. Exactly. All right, still on Global Morning. That's food. Talking about food, we're done with that, and let's move to some very important issues.
Yes, yesterday, talking about important issues, just so we don't miss it. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Yakubu Mahmood, was in front of a joint committee of the National Assembly on INEC, and there was the back and forth that he had in terms of asking questions and him just providing answers and responding to those questions. One of the issues that did stick out for me, and I'm sure for many Nigerians, which also featured in our major bulletin yesterday, was the fact that he said, because he was asked about his position, or put differently, the position of INEC as an institution on the Supreme Court judgment now giving what we call full autonomy to the local government councils. And then they asked him about that, and he said, there's nothing wrong if INEC should conduct elections at the grassroots level, in other words, for local governments, to elect chairmen and councillors. However, he said given the mandate of INEC, humongous resources will be required to be able to conduct those elections, because primarily we all understand that INEC has the mandate to conduct elections for the presidential, the legislature, and of course the states. But now, given the calls we've heard recently, which have continued vehemently, you realize that INEC will most likely end up conducting elections for states. Some people have also said, okay, insulates INEC from all of that responsibility. Let them stick within their original mandate as it currently stands. However, their recommendation is, let's have a different commission, a different institution that conducts elections for states, for local governments, in such a way that state governments, or if you like, governors, cannot just wake up and decide who will be the state electoral commission chairman and then decide who becomes local government chairman, councillors and all that. Juma, you and I know, if you look at all the states since we returned to democracy, if Juma Manson is the governor of a particular state and local government elections are conducted in the states, we already know how it's going to pan out before the elections are even conducted, because Juma Manson is the governor, so the local government chairman, top to bottom, are most likely going to come from her party.
Definitely.
And then are going to be people, for the most part, that she has hand-picked to go to those different local government councils. So there was that conversation. But again, for many of us, particularly in the media, it's instructive to note that local government elections in this country have been not only faulty but broken. So it needs a quick fix to be able to get it right. Because when you say autonomy, it's not just about giving money to the local government councils. So, okay, Juma Manson is the local government chairman of XYZ council. Give her 400 million. Give her 650 million. That's good, because it means our local government council will have money to do a lot of things.
Okay.
But does she have the latitude to make critical decisions on behalf of and in the interest of that local government without the governor of that state interfering? Because what we're seeing the last 2+ decades, for the most part, has been governors running the local governments. Of course, the local government chairman, for those who want to ask what is then the role of the chairman of the local government, has been more figurehead, rubber stamp, as some other people put it. So I think that's a conversation we must have beyond the INEC chairman coming to appear before the Joint Committee of the National Assembly.
Very true, really well said. And like, it looks as if we're going to be going back and forth with this issue.
For a while, right?
For a while, because like you said, INEC has come out to say they do not have the resources to conduct that election, like we rightly mentioned. So funds should be given if really we want to nip this in the bud. Really, funds should be given to INEC to conduct that election for in the local government area and all of that. But what I see, except if our guest that's coming says otherwise, as a different stance, really. But I do not see this going away very soon. I think we're going to go back and forth, and I hope it doesn't land in the hands of the governors making that decisions again for a while before they have autonomy in the local government areas when it comes to local government chairman. Well, let's just see how this plays out, but we have to nip this in the bud as soon and as fast as possible.
You know, like my mom would say, the journey of 1,000 kilometers begins with one step, all right? And I think in this regard, that first step will be the autonomy, the verdict of the Supreme Court that came in about a fortnight ago. And add to that, the financial aspect of the autonomy in itself, because yesterday, Wale Edo, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, was saying that as for July allocation, there's no guarantee that the local governments, well, he didn't say there's no guarantee, but he said so far the local government, there's no decision as to whether or not the local governments, the councils, will get allocation for July directly into their accounts. So that essentially implies that there's a pretty good chance that the allocation will still go to the JAC, as they call it, Joint Allocation, Joint Account Allocation Committee. All right. But that said, he also made a point. He said the reason for this is that the Attorney General of the Federation, who is also the Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, has not received the judgments, the certified true copy of the judgment and all of that. So, of course, there's some bureaucracy, some procedural issues.
Still ongoing.
Exactly. So, until that is done, we won't know exactly what the position is because the Attorney General has to advise going forward. But what we do hope for after our GM will say, after we've spoken all the grammar, is that local government will be cut off, so to speak, from the apron strings of state governors and state governments in such a way that we can now start holding states
accountable.
The local government accountable. Because
very important.
Who says I must go to my governor for every single thing?
No.
Yeah, I mean, for basic things, there are things that even the Constitution has clearly spelled out.
Exactly.
For the local government councils. I mean, their own work is called that for them. So we don't have to be dragging state government over everything, particularly those for which the local governments councils are responsible.
Yes, very true. And of course, the local governments, they actually feel the brunt of the issues when it comes to the indigents of that particular local government.
Right.
They speak with them, talk with them, have that open policy to speak with them freely, and they're like the mouthpiece of individuals in the local government. So yes, I support the autonomy, like I said earlier on, and they are actually the voice of the individuals of that local government, basically.
I totally agree, We're taking a quick break now, everyone. When we return, we'll talk a bit more about some of these burning issues, including the efforts we have seen just yesterday alone by the president and members of his cabinet to ensure that the planned end bad governance protests either doesn't happen, or where it does, the country will suffer minimal damage or disadvantage. We'll let you in on that after this break. Do stay with us.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress report on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
Thank you for staying with us. The business and economy landscape has evolved this entire week so far. By the way, today is the last business day of the week. The government has been talking about how that it's been spending a lot of money to protect our oil installation. Just yesterday, news came through that the government has spent about $1.5 billion just to protect all of this installation. But then, while we are fighting all of that, I mean, trying to process that piece of information, ironically, the Senate is now probing some $10 billion of loss of crude oil. If we do the math today, Joma, just for for the records, given the prevalent exchange rate, that is something in the neighborhood of 15 trillion naira. So the question we're asking is, who is stealing the oil? How are they stealing the oil? Who are their collaborators?
Exactly.
Are they getting the oil out of the country? Who is being held accountable for that? You see, it's something I like about the private organizations, I mean, the private sector generally, the fact that there's always somebody to be held accountable. They may not be the ones who have committed a fraction, the ones who have misappropriated the funds, the ones who didn't show up for work, the ones who showed up late. But they have to account for what has gone wrong and the repercussions that the organization is now suffering as a result. But you don't see much of that in the public space. It's as if when it happens, there's a ghost somewhere who did it, and the ghost has
and no one takes responsibility, and you just make it look like you do not know who is doing this or where the order is coming from. Accountability for me, like I said, is key. We need to have data for all of these things, for people to be held accountable for their positions in which they hold. It's just unfortunate, really, because nobody's thinking about the revenue of our country and what is the impact in which it holds in Nigeria. So this is a very serious issue. Like I said, everyone needs to be held accountable for it. Very important.
We should be held accountable. That's the only way we can bring transparency and probity to whatever mandate will be assigned. So let's take a quick break now as we join Kikelemo Okere to bring you a snapshot of business for yesterday.
Hello and welcome to Business Report. Nigerian proposed windfall tax on foreign currency revaluation gains of Nigerian banks could generate up to 0.3% of the country's gross domestic in 2024, offering a temporary fiscal boost amid ongoing economic challenges. This is according to American-based credit rating agency Moody Investors Service, which warns that such a tax is a credit negative for the banks. Moody noted that although this is not negligible given the government's small tax intake of around 9% of GDP in 2023, it remains marginal and only a temporary revenue measures. Announced on 17 July 2024, the one-off 50% tax aimed to raise funds for infrastructure and other critical spending, contributing to 6.2 trillion naira, that is $4 billion, addition to the national budget. The windfall tax has sparked concern within the banking sector due to its potential to significantly reduce the profits available for provision against problem loans and for transfer to retained earnings, which are essential components of the regulatory capital. This is particularly concerned for banks operating close to regulatory capital threshold. In 2023, Nigerian banks reported record largely driven by the naira's devaluation of 37% in June, resulting in substantial foreign currency revaluation gains. The Central Bank of Nigeria has sold one-year Treasury bill at a stop rate of 22.1% during its July 24 auction. This move reflects the central bank's ongoing efforts to manage liquidity and control inflation in the economy. According to the auction results, the total amount offered by the CBN in this auction was 277.96 billion naira spread across the different tenor. This represents an increase of 21.53% from 229.72 billion naira offered in the previous auction of June 26, 2024. The total subscription amount for this tenor combined was up to 373.95 billion naira, exceeding the amount offered and reflecting strong investors' confidence and demand for government securities. However, this was a decrease of 51.68% from 774.98 billion naira total subscription recorded in the previous month's auction. At least auction, the total allotment for the auction amounted to 277.96 billion naira, which is a marginal decline of 2.22% from the 284.26 billion naira allotted last month. Nigeria's leading commercial banks recorded significant forex revaluation gains estimated at a combined total of 3.37 trillion naira in 2023 and in the first quarter of 2024. This is as the Tinubu's administration concluded all plans to impose a massive windfall tax on the realized of forex revaluation gains of Nigerian banks. The data is collated from the 2023 full year and first quarter of 2024 financial statements released by the bank. According to the research, commercial banks earn as much as 2.4 trillion naira in 2023 and other 883 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024. The banks include Access Holding, FCMB, Fidelity, GT Company, Stanbic IBTC, UBA and Zenith Bank. The list excluded banks that are not quoted on the NGX. However, the total amount of forex gains include unrealized gains, which does not fall into the tax bracket of the government. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television.
Time waits for no man, or so they said. That's why you set goals and set your minds to achieving them. Because somehow you believe that one day your time will come. So through the highs and the lows, the good days and the not so great ones, you never stop thriving, hustling and showing up. Because you know, even if tomorrow is not guaranteed, at least you've got control over today. But it's not enough to believe it. You've got to live it too, with the right partner by your side, providing you with all the support you need to forge ahead and reminding you that now it's your time, not tomorrow, today. Today is yours to create greatness, to achieve your dreams, to reach your goals. And with FCMB, today is yours in every way. FCMB, my bank and I.
Thank you so very much, Kike Lomo Okeri, for that report in there. On business, remember that Kike will be back here at 11 this morning, that is West Africa time, on Business Points to walk you across the world of business. It's that time where we get to bring you the AM news in the middle of Global Morning, and my colleague Jumai Manson is standing by for the news.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. We'd like to remind you that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu is currently meeting with governors from the All Progressive Congress under the aegis of the Progressive Governors Forum at the Presidential Villa yesterday in Abuja. The meeting follows growing calls for nationwide protests against economic hardship. Although the agenda of the meeting is unknown, it may be connected to the planned protests scheduled for 1st to 10th of August. The protests organized under the hashtag End Bad Governance have gained significant traction on social media, with organizers largely anonymous and no group officially claiming responsibility. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has affirmed that the electoral body can conduct local government elections in the country if provided with the necessary resources. He made the statement when he appeared before the National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC and Electoral Committees, responding to a question from members of the National Assembly Joint Panel on the Commission's stance regarding the Supreme Court verdict on financial autonomy for local government. Yakubu acknowledged calls for the unbundling of INEC or the creation of a new federal agency for conducting council polls. The Nigerian Governors Forum has reiterated its commitment to improving the security and protection of lives and property at the sub-national level. The nationwide protests set to take place from August 1st to 10th have been generating tension and a variety of responses from Nigerians. Numerous groups expressing interest in leading the campaign stated that the protest was sparked by the escalating cost of living and the economic hardship faced by the populace. The All Progressive Congress APC has fixed a meeting between its National Working Committee and state chairman. A press statement released by the party's National Secretariat and signed by its National Secretary, Senator Surajuddin Basiru, says the meeting scheduled for Friday, 26 July 2024, will commence today at 3 p.m. prompt at the NWC Hall, APC National Secretariat in Abuja. The party further stated that meeting's agenda will focus on the state of the nation and the progress reports on party structure across the states. The Lagos State government has distanced itself from the rumored upcoming Oro Festival scheduled for August 1st to 15th, coinciding with the End Bad Government protests. The government likened it to other religious activities held across the country. Boyega Okosile, the special advisor on media and publicity to the state's governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, said, "No one questions the government when other religions hold their activities." He noted that the same respect should be maintained by traditional worshippers because they have the right to worship according to the Constitution and can go about their lawful exercises. The House of Representatives Committee on Federal Capital Territory has questioned the operational model of the park and pay policy of the Federal Capital Territory Administration. At the meeting with the Mandate Secretary in charge of Transportation Secretariat, Chinedum Elechi, the committee said residents and motorists of Abuja are being harassed by personnel in charge of the enforcement of the policy. Recall that the authority reintroduced the park and pay policy in August 2023 after signing an agreement with two concessionaries. The policy is to decongest the city and make motoring in the nation's city a pleasant experience. Ekiti State House of Assembly has issued a stern warning to individuals and public and private organizations exploiting and inflicting hardship on the people of the state through their unwholesome business activities. This came as the state government promised continued engagement with the grassroots people to ensure that their needs are met. The Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Honorable Adeoye Aribasayo, who stated this, said a tough time awaits estate agents, petrol stations, land grabbers, and middlemen in markets, among others, found engaging in such sharp practices. In an effort to combat climate change and enhance urban beautification, Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State has officially launched a tree-planting exercise aimed at planting 3 million trees. According to the statement by the governor's spokesperson, Sanisu Bature Dawakin Tofa, the campaign underscores the administration's commitment to addressing the detrimental efforts of climate change, soil erosion, and land degradation and desertification, while also boosting agricultural productivity. Kano State aims to plant 10 million trees within the first term of Governor Yusuf administration through a three-pronged strategy. The Cross River State House of Assembly has called on the state government through the relevant agencies to stop the activities of migrants engaged in illegal mining in Okwa 1 and 2 and Uwonga in Boki local government area. The lawmakers made the resolution in Calabar sequel to a matter of urgent public importance on the encroachment of Fulanese in Okwa 1 and 2 and Uwongo communities in Boki local government area, sponsored by the members representing Boki 1 state constituency, Bete Obi. Over now to the federal government said it has policy decisions in reviewing the national cybercrime strategy, which will work towards mitigating multi-faceted threats posed by cyber crimes. President Ahmed Tinubu, who was presented by the Minister of Communications and Innovations and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, made this known at the official opening of Nigerian Police Cybercrime Center in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere has details.
Nigeria has witnessed an unprecedented surge to spread subversive messages and inciting violence and arrest. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, says the Cybercrime Center is built in an effort to strengthen the operational efficiency of the law enforcement agency, thereby increasing national security and ushering Nigeria into a bright future driven by Professor of Cyberspace and Digital Economy. The President therefore urged the Inspector General of Police to effectively utilize the facility to protect Nigerian cyberspace and ensure that it is used for enhancement of national development and economic progress.
Our objective is to usher in Nigeria into a bright future driven by the crossroad of cyberspace and digital economy. Prioritizing the security of our cyberspace, this administration is committed to enhancing the social security of Nigerians and also tackling the economic and security challenges facing our country while also providing us with a platform to improve our credibility.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, says the modern digital technology facility will serve as a nerve center of revolutionizing the art of policing in Nigeria and indeed the entire sub-Saharan Africa in the fight against cyber threats.
The Nigerian Police Force National Cybercrime Center embodies our commitment to harnessing technology, innovation, and collaboration to addressing the growing challenges posed by cybercrime and its predicate offenses.
The President further says his administration remains resolute to fight all forms of criminalities as an emerging and rapidly evolving category of offenses in the country. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
The Jigawa state government has launched a statewide distribution of 3.2 million insecticide-treated bed nets and a seasonal malaria chemo prevention campaign to tackle the menace of malaria. Governor Umar Namadi, who inaugurated the program, stressed the critical need to reduce malaria, a leading cause of morbidity and mortality in the state. He emphasized the initiative reflected the government's commitment to delivering quality and affordable health care to the residents of Jigawa State. Highlighting the economic advantages of reducing malaria, the governor noted that decreased treatment costs and enhanced productivity were among the benefits. The Benue State Bureau of Education Quality Assurance has identified 2,100 primary and secondary schools for closure in its first phase of clampdown on illegal operations of educational institutions in the state. Dr. Tema Francis, Director General, made the disclosure when he attended the speech and prize giving day at the Telegate Academy in Makodi as the special guest of honor. Francis revealed that 2,100 schools have been identified for closure in the first phase of clampdown on uncredited schools, adding that schools that have obtained their recertification forms and completed the necessary processes should come for collection of their certificates of consent, which now stands as formal approval. The Plateau State government has warned citizens of the state that cholera remains a significant threat to human lives, particularly in areas with inadequate water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. Program Coordinator of Plateau State Sustainable Urban and Rural Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene Program, Jonathan Milan, stated this while addressing journalists in Jos, the Plateau State capital. As a result, Milan said the state has taken a big step to prevent cholera outbreak in the state, following reports of the prevalence of the disease in 33 states across Nigeria. You're watching AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms by using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, Russian military helicopter crash kills crew members. We'll bring you this and more details right after this break. Do stay with us.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress reports on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. Over now to our business desk, the federal government has not yet commenced direct payments of monthly allocations to Nigerians' 774 local government areas. Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, explained that the Supreme Court's proceedings had not yet been communicated to the Attorney General of the Federation for proper study and implementation. Recall that on July 11, 2024, a 7-man panel of the Supreme Court granted financial autonomy to the local government, a decision opposed by some state governors. The federal government has said that it has spent over $1.5 billion from 2020 to date to protect the nation's oil installations and curb crude oil theft. The Secretary of the Government of the Federation, George Akume, made this known at a public hearing of the House of Representatives on crude oil theft. Akume was represented by the Permanent Secretary, General Service, Munrik Nadi. Owners of local refineries in Nigeria, including the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, say they can help the country stop the importation of refined petroleum products in 18 months if the federal government works with their plans. The association's publicity secretary, Eche Idoko, said Dangote Refinery and others in the country can satisfy the fuel needs of the nation. The refiners, who spoke under the aegis of the Crude Oil Refiners Association of Nigeria, said there are other refineries at different stages of completion to join the 650,000 capacity Dangote Petroleum Refinery. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has appealed to the management of the Nigerian Ports Authority for more waivers to utilize the Calabar ports. They made the call when the leadership of the association paid a familiarization visit to their facility as the way of fostering closer collaboration in Calabar. The acting chairman of Cross River and Akwa Ibom State branch of the association, Hussein Umar, said there are many manufacturers in both states eager to utilize the service of the Calabar port. On our foreign scene, the pilot who survived a deadly plane crash in Nepal has saved was saved after his cockpit was steered off by a freight container seconds before the rest of the aircraft crashed in flames. Captain Munish Ratna Shikya, the sole survivor of the disaster that killed 18 people at Kalmadu Airport, is being treated in the hospital. AMI-28 military helicopter has crashed in an uninhabited area of southwestern Russia, killing the crew. The AMI-28 crashed in the Kalga region with all the crew dead. Preliminary information says a technical malfunction caused the disaster. 2 ships have sunk, one of which was carrying millions of liters of oil after the typhoon swept through the Taiwan and Philippines, leaving 25 dead and hundreds injured. China has raised the alert status of its coastline in preparation for Typhoon Jemmy to strike with a storm center now approaching Fujian province. It is the strongest typhoon to hit Taiwan in 8 years, with it struck overnight with gusts killing up to 3 people, although it is now weakening. A 24-year-old man has been charged with attempted murder over the stabbing of a British soldier earlier this week. Detectives investigating the serious assault of the soldier in Gillingham have charged Anthony Essen in court. A police officer has been suspended after a video circulated online of a man being kicked and stamped on the head at Manchester Airport. Greater Manchester Police confirmed an officer have been removed from all duties after a thorough review of further information of the incident, which took place on Tuesday. Over now on our sports decks, Manchester United have included Jadon Sancho, their 29-man squad, for their preseason tour of the United States, but defender Tyrell Malacia have been left out. The Red Devils announced a travelling party that jetted off to the US ahead of eye-catching fixtures against Arsenal, Real Betis and Liverpool. Andy Murray has withdrawn from the tennis singles at the Paris Olympics but will still take part in the doubles. The British former world number 1, who will retire at the end of his 5th game, has still not fully recovered from back surgery he had last month. He believes the men's double, where he is playing with Dan Evans, offers his best chance of another medal. An assistant coach and an analyst with the Canadian women's football team were sent home from the Olympics. Head coach Viv Pisman also announced she will take no part in the opening game of Canada's gold medal defense against New Zealand. The decision came after a staff member was detained by French authorities for flying a drone over a New Zealand training season this week in Saint-Etienne. As we end the AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. We brought to you that Chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission has said the electoral lacks capacity to conduct local government elections. In business, we brought to you that the federal government says over $1.5 billion spent on protecting Nigerians' oil installations. On our foreign scene, Russian military helicopter crash has killed all crew members. And finally, in sports, we told you that Andy Murray has withdrawn from Olympics tennis singles. And that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Remember, we're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms by using a Global TV engine or the handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on global televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point, this is business.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet event to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chong Annabelle Joseph on Global Television.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first. Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumaine Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and they repeat every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Global TV concept is the emerging, brand that everybody must watch. So I subscribe and I'm prescribing that we must all be ready to begin to watch Global TV.
So keep watching Global TV, especially for updates on agriculture, food, commodities, and without food, there is no great nation.
So please watch Global TV because it's going to change your life.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress report on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Global television is people's television. It's for the people. They focus on the contents of deliverables.
Global Television, channel 365 on your DSTV, the station to watch for your news and current affairs. Hey!
This is Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV, the station to watch for your news and current affairs. This is Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV, a station to watch for current affairs and other societal news. Keep watching live.
Watching Global TV on DSTV channel 365. Don't touch it now, just watch.
This is Global TV. Keep watching on channel 365 on DSTV station and listening to the latest updates. Yay!
This is Global Television on DSTV, channel 365. Keep watching. Yay!
In my YouTube chest, anytime I cough, sir, it makes a heavy sound. I see. Why?
Daddy's coughing, Gina is coughing, so just run for cover.
Uniplex cough syrup contains ammonium chloride, diphenhydramine hydrochloride, sodium citrate, and menthol crystals to give you relief from sore throat, cold, and chesty cough.
Daddy, are we safe now? Yeah.
Uniplex cough syrup. Cage the cough.
Is the desk on Global Television.
Nigeria, come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. Because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Hello, children. Gather around, let me tell you a story. Do you know that stories have a way of captivating the minds of children, bringing fun and imagination to teach them morals? Join Sharon Ajay as she takes you to explore the thrilling and exciting world of storytelling.
I'll be sharing with you our next interesting story.
Tune in every Saturday on Global Television, time 5:30 p.m.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Beautiful work from the wingers.
Global TV concept is the emerging, brand that everybody must watch. So I subscribe, and I'm prescribing that we must all be ready to begin to watch Global TV.
So keep watching Global TV, especially for updates on agriculture, food, commodities, and without food, there is no great nation.
So please watch Global TV because it's going to change your life.
Thank you all for staying with us on Global Morning this promising Friday. Time now to take a look at the papers for you. The first port of call is the Daily Times. This Friday morning has a big story right on the front page of it. It says Nigeria's economy on path of recovery. That is coming from no one else but the president himself. Says we will do more to meet the needs of citizens. That's the first rider. The second rider says, I have no cabal or sponsors to compensate. You're hearing that directly from the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic himself. Nigeria needs its diaspora expertise in nation building. Find those details on page 4 of the Daily Times newspaper. Troops neutralize 106 terrorists, arrest 164 others in 1 week. Okay, on page 10. Planned protests. Military will not watch Nigeria thrown into a state of anarchy, says DHQ. The writer tells us we have uncovered plan to infiltrate planned protests, says DSS. And then a third one here, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, PG, that's the President General of Igbo Socio-Cultural Group, Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Emmanuel Iwanyanwu dies at 82. Emmanuel Iwanyanwu was a man who had been an astute politician and a very successful and progressive businessman. He was in politics, of course. He was in business, had over 20 companies. He was also in the media because he owned Champions newspaper. I remember growing up, my mom used to be a fan of Champions newspaper and all of that. Of course, he rose to the ranks, was also in aviation and so on and so forth. So now there's going to be transition in the leadership of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. I recall that in 2022, he had succeeded the former leader of that group, Professor Obiozor, but again, it means the leadership is changing so fast. His family has also confirmed his death, which happened just yesterday. We pray for peace for his soul, and then, of course, for his family to be comforted at these very trying times. So, time to turn to the Daily Trust newspaper. Juma has those details for us.
Yes, the Daily Trust, below the caption of the Daily Trust, it says, Muslim groups want film using hijab in armed robbery scene banned. And that's it there. And it says, security operatives kill many bandits in Niger. Tinubu, others mourn as Ohanaeze Ndigbo leader Iwanyanwu dies. And then below the caption there, in the words of Tinubu, it says, I engage in protest, but without violence. And below that caption, it says, federal government intensifies efforts to stop August 1st demonstration. President meets monarchs, religious leaders. DSS warns against anarchy. And here it says, grandfather appeals for rescue of 5 family members kidnapped in Kaduna. Gunmen kill 5 inside mosques in Nasarawa. Dangote NNPC rift Nigerians petrol import from Malaysia jumps 43 times to 52. And still on the Daily Trust, below that caption, it says, government, okay, I've read that, and that's basically it on the Daily Trust. Please go out and get your Daily Trust newspaper for you to be well informed when it comes to all of these news making rounds.
There's this headline, Jumai, on the front page of Daily Trust. The grandfather appeals for a rescue of 5 family members kidnapped in Kaduna. Yeah,
really sad.
It's sad, exactly. Really First, sad. It raises the question of how much of work have the parents of the children put in? And then you also ask, in the first instance, do they even have parents for their grandfather to be the one intervening?
Pleading, yes.
And pleading and all of that. So it's quite traumatic. I mean,
it is.
You don't have to be a member of that family to feel the pain. All right? It's interesting. But let's turn quickly now to the first news. Our first news, Friday's issue of the paper. It says, nation on high alert as protest tensions escalates. Security forces issues 10 warnings against planned unrest. Military warns protests could spark Kenya-like anarchy. Okay, DSS, sponsors of protests identified aiming to topple Tinubu's government. Tinubu holds emergency meeting with Sultan Oni, NSA, IGP, APC governors. Traditional rulers urge patience after meeting with president. Senate invites Dangote, NNPCL, CBN, NIMASA, others over alleged economic sabotage. 2024 Olympics, Brazil defeats Defiant Super Falcons 1-0. Ezekwesili to Tinubu's government use planned protests to engage dissatisfied citizens. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Engagement, right? Rather than confrontation.
Exactly.
Building collapse in Lagos kills 5. INEC ready to handle LG elections, says Yakubu, but then he says there's a caveat. Resources must be made available. And then at the foot of Fresh News, Ohaneze Ndigbo President Iwayawu dies. Okay, let's do a switch to the Guardian newspaper now.
And on the Guardian, it says here, regions, citizens languish amid proliferation of political SPVs. And there's a cartoon caption on that. And I'm sure when you go out and get the Guardian, you read it more, talking about the South and in other news, more regions demand meaty deputy commissioner. And here it says here, in the words of the Chief of Army Staff, he says, because that's his picture there, he says, planned protest, military warns against violence as DSS reveals plots to cause chaos. And here he says, Nigerians' petrol import from Malta surges by 342% to $2.08 billion. TUC insists on May 1st, 2024 date for new minimum wage. And responders recover 5 bodies, rescue 5 others in Lagos building collapse. And you can get that news from page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. Tinubu, Igbo nations, others mourn demise of Owanyan at 82. And that you can get on page 2 of the Guardian. And still on the Guardian, it says World Hepatitis Day, hope dims for 2030, elimination target for deadly virus. Well, that's hope. There's going to be an elimination for that deadly virus, hepatitis. People don't really check or go for testing when it comes to hepatitis. It's more deadly than HIV, I hear.
You know, the thing is, excuse me, these things have to do with awareness, level of consciousness you create in people. You don't have to threaten them. You don't have to make it look like a do or die thing. You don't have to manipulate them.
True.
You just have to put the facts in front of them as scientifically proven already. For instance, you see people at the point when campaigns about HIV/AIDS, were really ramped up. People were more fascinated and scared off. All right, HIV/AIDS and all of that. So for a minute, we forgot about malaria. But then from the numbers we see, from the statistics, it is clear that malaria still kills far more people across the African continent than does HIV/AIDS. So what's the point? The point here is we've got to, of course, particularly for those within the medical community, create awareness about each of these plagues, as I like to call them, and then let citizens understand in their best language. For example, not everybody understands the high standard languages of medical professionals. So let's understand what hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, and what have you are, so that people know, they get to see the need. If people see the need, you don't have to force them. You don't have to take them by the hand.
Exactly.
Just let them see the need. Let them know how it impacts their health. Let them know how it should inform their lifestyle choices.
Exactly.
And then you see things run on autopilot.
It's very important. And, I want to just take a minute to just, really, when it comes to hepatitis, most individuals, when they bring in a help, Let's say someone to come assist. I
Right.
don't like calling them maids. I don't use such words because they're actually helping and assisting you. They don't run through that test. They just come into the home and that's it. You should run a thorough test,
Very
especially
important.
when it has not just the HIV, not for infection or whatever. Hepatitis is very important. It should be run. That test is very important. Like you said, awareness is very important. I'm happy there's World Hepatitis Day to create that awareness for individuals to understand what it entails. So it's very important that a check is thoroughly made and that awareness is made in our society that we find ourselves.
All right. I think that's much. Would that be all from the Guardian newspaper?
Yes, that is.
All right. So
much.
let's churn over everyone to the New Telegraph today for you. All right. On the front page of the New Telegraph now, above the nameplates, allocation. FG hits brick wall over implementation of LG autonomy. Juma and I made a passing reference to that a while ago. But still above the nameplate, PMS, value of imports from Malta hits $2.317 billion. And then there's one that has a picture of the Speaker of the House of Representatives here, Tajuddin Abbas. It says, oil theft, Nigeria lost $10 billion in 7 months. That's according to Abbas. 7 months, $10 billion to oil theft.
That's a lot.
And these thieves are not ghosts now, are they?
No, they're not.
All right. Then there's a picture, a headline with a picture of the DG of DSS here. Says there are sinister motives, all right, moves to cause chaos, extreme violence. Of course, that's the Directorate of Department of State Services. They're talking that they've uncovered some plots by some people to unseat government, to create chaos, to cause extreme violence. All right, so let's see how we deal with that. All right, so YFG released June FARC allocation to states by Edun, because questions have been asked about that, because people are saying if there's a Supreme Court's judgment that has now directed that allocations should be paid directly to councils, to local governments, why did you have to pay that of June to the state's government? All right. Of course, you find details on page 20 of today's issue of the New Telegraph with Minister of Finance there explaining, all right, with evidence, I'm sure. All right. Okay, so let's look at the big story for you. August 1 hardship protest. Tinubu APC governors meets traditional rulers in Aso Rock. That was something that happened yesterday. Then if you take it down a little further, petroleum sector probe. Senate threatens arrest warrant against defaulters. Iwayawu Indigbo has lost another icon, says Ohaneze, as PG dies at 82. On the right corner of the New Telegraph today, it says Fubara Wike camps intensify battle for supremacy. We have capacity to conduct LG elections. All right, AGF cautions security agents. Okay, then what's more? Customs raking 11.2 billion naira. Okay, those are stories basically from this morning, today's edition of the New Telegraph. But there's always this last one I like from the news, the New Telegraph. That's at the foot of it. It's a study. It says studies linking moderate drinking to health benefits flawed. All right, so you can read that up for your own health's sake on page 26 of the New Telegraph today, and that takes us to Nigerian News Direct.
All right, on the Nigerian News Direct, we have above that caption, it says, food security, Osun government acquires 72 new tractors to boost production. And then on the Nigerian News Direct, we have ITU ranks Nigeria high in digital transformation readiness. And now onto the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. It says, end bad governance protest. DSS alleges anarchy plot as Lagos government denies Oro Festival involvement. And below the Nigerian News Direct, here it says, H1 review, Tinubu's government still on course to reduce food prices, lift millions out of poverty. And that's Edun making that statement. It says, dumps ways and means as federal government. The second says, as federal government targets FX from diaspora with issuance of $500 million security, and that's August. And here it says 600,000 households beneficiaries of Dalit transfer program this week alone. Still on Nigerian News Direct, it says Airtel Africa's customer base grows to 155.4 million as data usage up 25.1%. And it says here, PCN shuts 571 illegal pharmacies, medicine shops in Bauchi. And basically, that is it on the Nigerian News Direct. Talking about the PCN shutting down 571 illegal pharmacies, medicine shops in Bauchi. That's a lot. Is it that these pharmacies or medicine shops have been selling illegal drugs? Because I think that's one of the criteria. You must meet the criteria. They will check the...
it must be screened and certified.
Certified, exactly. And it has to do with the drugs in which they sell in that particular pharmacy and medicine shop. That's a lot. That means a lot of individuals in that particular state have been buying drugs which are maybe... will I say, there's this word I'm looking for. Drugs that expired, substandard, and all of that.
Right.
This is serious. This is really, this is an eye-opener. Most of these medicine shops and pharmacies really need to get certified. It's very important because individuals, their lives are at risk here. So, the PCN are doing an amazing job. To shut down 575, that's a lot.
It's really crazy. I giggled for a second, even though it's a serious matter. I giggled because the numbers are alarming.
It is, right? 571.
And that's just one state.
Not just 10.
Yes, that's just one state.
That's a lot.
All right. So what if we were to replicate that same exercise, that same level of intensity and, if you like, extent to other states of the Federation, including our own FCT, for example.
But I know in Lagos, they take this very seriously, and they actually go and check pharmacists and medicine shops. I remember one of my dad's properties, there is the shops, there's a pharmacist and he was like, no, they cannot operate because they had to be certified. So I think in Lagos they take it very seriously because that was what I heard. So I was like, that's great.
You know, it's interesting. It just shows that we are dealing with a lot here. We know there are illicit drugs, which by mandates, NAFDAC and its partners, I should say, by the way, not NAFDAC, NDLEA and its partners are dealing with. But now we're talking about medicine as we know it. Whether they have expired, whether they are not even regulated, maybe approved, for example.
Exactly.
You know, of course, we understand that these drugs are snaked into the country using the backdoor process.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And that, again, has further placed some very massive demand on NAFDAC. All right. But then NAFDAC must also show to Nigerians that it's not only working, but it is on top of its game, because it can be working, but you're overwhelmed. But you've got to be on top of your game.
Very
because
important.
The good thing with the health space is that you have several agencies, even though we know on some level it's as if there's an overlap in their roles. But the good thing is, they say the more the merrier, at least for health. It's making a lot of sense. So collaboration is easy, interagency, synergy is there, and stuff like that. Because people die and we blame some village people, we blame some spiritual forces and all of that. But how about our regulatory laxity or negligence? How about our own personal choices that are poor, all right, in terms of judgments that we take? How about those of us who say, well, they should have left the man to run his business. After all, that's where he feeds his family from. I mean, that's us making the decision. So it must be an everybody fights for us to be able to run circles around this challenge, right?
Very important. All right. The next paper is The Punch, and you'll be reading us some very punchy headlines.
It has to be nothing less punchy, all right? So we go to The Punch to bring you the first one. The big story here says, Tinubu rallies NSA monarchs as hunger protest looms. Two riders quickly. President meets APC governors, Oni Sultan clerics as planned protest gains momentum. Opposition charges Tinubu to address Nigerians, Army, DSS alleged plots to force regime change. Is that what it is? All right. But then at the foot of the paper this morning, Factional kingmakers oppose fresh Alaafin selection process. That's on the foot of the Punch newspaper front page. Police station rape. Okay, NGOs condemn pace of investigation. That's talking about police station rape. Lagos begins probe as 5 killed in building collapse. Another sad story about building collapse there. And then above, I just sent to the name mast, 16 more state-owned schools get student loan approval. And then if we take it a step higher, above the name masts, one headline here that has the picture of the president says, Tinubu may sign 70,000 naira minimum wage bill next week. As we say in pidgin parlance, as it is hot, right?
As it is hot.
Probe, National Assembly summons NNPC Dangote over $10 billion oil thefts. President Governors mourn as Ohanaeze leader Iwuanyanwu dies. Those are your stories. This one, the headlines from The Punch. The Nigerian Tribune is where we go next, and Jumai has been giggling for about 6 seconds.
It's what you said. It's what you said. All right, the Nigerian Tribune, and here above that it says Lagos local government autonomy and teachers' salaries better paid by state instead of local government, and that's the NUT saying that, and you can find that on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. And Ohanaeze Ndigbo, president, Iwuanyanwu dies at 82. Tinubu others mourn. A very big personality there. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Right. Now, INEC will take over responsibility of conduct of local government elections if backed by law. And that's Mahmood Yakubu speaking there. And you can find more details on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. Now, below the Nigerian Tribune, we have DHQ DSS warns against anarchy, identify sponsors. Finally. Finally, so we know this, because these are the sponsors you're supposed to have this dialogue with. I think they should be on board, not just religious leaders, to talk with them, to speak to Nigerians who are eager, will I say, to protest. So we can find a solution to this
let's
issue.
step on our brakes for a minute so we don't pump gas for the wrong reasons, as Americans say. You see, government must be seen to speak in unison, especially in this case, the federal government, right? And now the DSS is telling us, I'd like to say the DG of the DSS is telling us that they have identified the protest sponsors, all right, that they want to infiltrate government, they want to
cause chaos,
change of regime, they want to change governments and so on and so forth, all right? Those are the sponsors. But yesterday, Hope Uzodinma, the leader of the Progressive Governors Forum, that is to say, he leads all the governors elected on the platform of the APC, which is the ruling party, who also is very close to the president, all right, said to Nigerians that they had also identified the leaders of this protest, the organizers, they have invited them for dialogue. That, for me, is a two-pronged issue. Because exactly contradictory. Because on the one hand, you're telling us these guys are enemies of states, they want to destroy the nation, and so on and so forth. We have identified them. And we see force coming on that front, all right? Maybe all-out force. On the other hand, those who are close to the president, those with a lot of executive latitude, are telling us that we have invited these guys to even come to the room to join us. I mean, this is Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma talking, that we have invited them. So government needs to get its act together so that we're having a conversation that is probably coordinated and effectively midwifed. Otherwise, it will even be government creating the chaos at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Government must be seen to be the bigger person here, so to speak. Otherwise, it's just going to be same old, same old. All right, so let's turn to other headlines quickly.
All right, and it's here, it says, it's an invitation to anarchy, reign of terror, DHQ, funding lines identified, and that's in DSS. Now, says plan afoot to hijack protests, cause chaos, traditional rulers meet with Tinubu, plead for peace, patience, or your Lagos government holds security stakeholders meeting. And I participated in peaceful protests for democracy, and that's the voice of our President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And here it says Malala Fund invests $7.8 million in Girl Child Program in Nigeria. Nigeria records fastest economic growth in 6 years in Q1 2024, and that's Edun saying that now. Says Tinubu reforms yielding result. Federal government's main focus is to reduce food prices. Government pays 7.3 trillion naira ways or means debt. Now, here it says federal government spends 1.5 billion naira to protect oil installations in 4 years. That's SGF, and you can find that on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune. 6 workers die as building under construction collapses in Lagos. Court to hear Edo government suit challenging Shaibu's reinstatement September 24th, and you can find that on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Please go out and get your paper to stay well informed. And next we have the Vanguard
newspaper. Incidentally, the Vanguard is our last port of call this morning. Let's take a look at that for you quickly, starting with the big story. Protests. No government will condone destruction of lives, property. Tinubu, of course, no government in any part of the world.
Of course.
So we must handle this very carefully and ensure that Nigeria eventually wins. Alleged sabotage. Senate summons Petroleum Finance Ministers, NNPCL, CBN, MPA, others. 5 die, others injured in Lagos building collapse. And then a bit of sports. Super Falcons, let's see, falter in Olympics opening match. That's against Brazil. Right. Of course, the Star Story has a lot of writers. We'll encourage you to read it up on page 5, all of the details. And then above the name masts of the Vanguard this morning, billionaire kidnapper, untold story of Henry Odenigbo's exploits as Nollywood actor, producer. Ohaneze President General Emmanuel Iwaiyanwu dies at 81. FG exits Ways and Means, debts down 15.7% to $91 billion. That headline is credited to Edu, that's the Minister of Finance. But Juma, there's this story here which has its details on page 7. It reads, billionaire kidnapper, untold story of Henry Odenigbo's exploits as Nollywood actor, producer. We're told this guy until he met his Waterloo on the 5th of this month, which is just about 3 weeks ago, right? Was probably, arguably the biggest name in the movie industry in River State, in Port Harcourt in particular. All right. They said he only featured in his own movies. All right. He neither harassed nor owned actors and things like that. But he was just doing his own thing. You know, that he never even owed in terms of his obligation, financial obligation, what have you, to actors and those he worked with. But he had a lot of money. But it will appear from what is being unraveled now that the man was using that as a camouflage to just create a front, all right, to give the impression that he was in the movie industry as a movie maker and content producer and stuff like that. But now we're beginning to hear of several things he had done in Lagos alone. But then, incidentally, he almost never made those in the movie industry his targets. It just shows to you that, as Sam Dede once said in an old movie, Isakaba, things are not always as they appear on the surface.
What they seem.
You know, my friend's brother would say, you have to lift people's skin to know some things. Of course, not literally, to know certain things about them. So for somebody to have been in an industry like the movie
for years.
Exactly. Not even his closest colleagues knew all of this until just a couple of weeks ago.
It's unfortunate. And, you know, that is the kind of state, the kind of, how will I say, that's what we found ourselves now in Nigeria. Some people will go through any means just to make money.
Right.
Just to maintain that status. A lot of people will do a lot of shady things to cover up their tracks, and that's why it's very important that you should be aware of your circle. It's very important to know, like now, it isn't a jaw opening that you hear that he is a billionaire, but a billionaire kidnapper.
Right.
The criminal fronts that he must have caused in that particular state, not just Enugu or Port Harcourt, but all over the state, the kind of shady deals he must have been into under the guise of a Nollywood producer, which is sad. So we should be aware of our circles. We should try and investigate who we are friends with, know these individuals, not anyone that comes and throws money and you feel it's from the right link or right source. You should be very wary and very careful, because right now everyone is on the fast lane. Everyone wants to make money. It doesn't matter how or what you do.
No values.
No values at all. No moral justification. Just make the money. Doesn't matter how it comes. But we have to be aware, legally it's very important that you have that track and know who your circles are. Very important.
It is, and I hope the lesson is learned, and that we do not take the laws into our hands, knowing that there's always a day of reckoning. My mom would say, every day for the thief, one day for the owner. But then it all teaches us a very valuable lesson that we have to do due diligence. Those we bring into our circles, those we associate with, because association is also a factor. Again, I go back to my mom. She says, "Show me your friend,
and I'll tell you who you are."
Right.
I think all moms always say that. I think it's like
it's a household thing.
It's a household thing, yes.
Right. Let's take a quick break now, everyone. We'll have a lot in stock for you right up ahead. When we return, we'll tell you some more about Nigeria and what the real issues are today.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. No need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids.
Milo! Global television is people's television. It's for the people. They focus on the contents of deliverables.
Global Television, channel 365 on your DSTV, the station to watch for your news and current affairs. Hey! This is Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV, the station to watch for your news and current affairs. This is Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV, a station to watch for current affairs and other societal news. Keep watching live.
Watching Global TV on DSTV channel 365. Don't touch it now, just watch.
This is Global TV. Keep watching on channel 365 on DSTV station and listening to the latest updates. Yay!
This is Global Television on DSTV channel 365. Keep watching. Yay!
Global TV concept is the emerging, brand that everybody must watch. So I subscribe, and I'm prescribing that we must all be ready to begin to watch Global TV.
So keep watching Global TV, especially for updates on agriculture, food, commodities, and without food, there is no great nation.
So please watch Global TV because it's going to change your life.
With every government and introduction of new policies, Businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okere tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Okay, so great thing that you're with us here on Global Morning. Just coming out of the paper's review, some of those stories actually stood out. It will appear that the president is now doing the same thing he had done with the labor leaders at the time that led to the 70,000 naira minimum wage understanding. And the good thing is, along those lines, we hear now that the president will likely assent to the bill, which of course has been passed by the National Assembly into law as early as next week.
As they hot, as
yes. As early as next week. So now we know that one is in the bag already, and then we can move on to other issues. But yes. I'm hoping and believing strongly, Jumai, that those leading this protest will be able to come to the table, come to dialogue with a government, especially now that we see government even particular about having that conversation.
Very true.
And government has to continue to maintain that sincerity of purpose, because it may take 5 years to, we can decide to war for 5 years, but then we can also decide to have a dialogue for 1 week. So the options are in front of us.
That's true.
And I think Nigeria, whether the government or the people, or even those organizing these protests, would rather choose dialogue. Because in the end, they say, ironically, that when countries go to war, the idea is to find peace.
That's true.
It's such an irony that you almost can't wrap your head around. How do you say you want to find peace by going to war? But what it means is there's no right-thinking country that wants to go to war. But every country wants to protect its interests because they say there's no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. Only interest. All right. So every country wants to protect its interests. So it is peace that we all want in the end. And for the fact that this is even an internal issue, it's not Nigeria versus another nation. So we've got to ask ourselves every other time, what exactly is it that we want? If those protesters are able to bring their demands, or as we say in law, their prayers to the table, it means that we are one step into the journey of success. Look at NSAS, for instance. I remember very clearly the then speaker, now Chief of Staff to President Bola Tinubu, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, has said, look, if anything, this NSAS protest must address issues around police brutality on the one hand, so that we can pacify not just the protesters, but citizens.
Of course.
On the other hand, it must also address fundamental issues within the policing system in the country. I talked about remuneration for the police, overall welfare for the police. He talked about all of those things. In fact, as the speaker then, I can remember very clearly, the records are there, you can fact check me, he said he won't sign any package from the executive that did not adequately and satisfactorily address the issues around police welfare. He said that very clearly, right? So it was about the issues, not about who won, who didn't win. Of course, on the one hand, we're talking about the Lekki Tollgate issue and all of that. But there were Nigerians, even within the corridors of power, who were more interested in how do we pay attention to the issues, not the noise. So I think we should bring that same attitude and priority into this conversation.
It's very important. Like I said, now that like we hear that the organizers have been identified, dialogue is key. Dialogue is very important, so that it can be a round table discussion. Let's see the way forward, how the government and of course the organizers in form of the protesters can forge ahead to know the way forward, in which the right way to go when it comes to ending these issues. When it comes to, basically, we know that the issues at hand is the hardship in which Nigerians are facing. Nigerians are practically tired. A lot of individuals would tell you they are tired. Some people are suicidal at this point. So we understand the plight of Nigerians. It's not easy. The economy is biting hard, we all know. And that is why protesters, the organizers, need government to be very proactive when it comes to issues, to take it seriously. I'm sure that's why the protesters are hell-bent on going on out with this process, because they need an immediate solution to all of this. They do not want it to linger like the labor when it came to the minimum wage. We know how we went back and forth with this issue. We know how we went with 250,000 naira, and then the government said 60,000 naira, then added 2,062, and then some individuals, some governors are saying they cannot pay, they want sustainability and all of that. I think that's why the protesters are hell-bent. They are not listening, will I say. But at the same time, we need to consider Nigeria. That is the priority right now. Now, if we go along with this protest, and if it's out of line with asking for the economic reforms, asking for a better source of livelihood, asking for all what we need when it comes to structure and all of that, if it goes outside that plan, the havoc and the chaos it will bring to this country, it will affect each and every one of us. It doesn't matter how high or how minute you think you are. It will affect. You don't say it doesn't concern. It concerns you in one way or the other. Let me just digress a bit. When we heard about the insurgency in the Northeast, most people in the south or southeast, southwest, is, of course, it's not our problem. It has to do with the north. It's the north that is having. Now, what do you hear now?
It's now a Nigerian problem.
It's now a Nigerian problem. You hear of kidnappings. You hear of all of these things that happen in the northeast taking place in most of these southwest, south. You know, the country is now a Nigerian problem. So if this protest goes outside the conduct or the rule or the code of what it represents, it's going to be a Nigerian problem. So for me, dialogue is key. There is no friend, there is no enemy. The most important thing is we get to the root cause and the solution. And that is why I commend. I say it, like from the beginning, Anthony Momodu always say, Jumai Manson will always go back to the president's speech. Because for me, it resonated with my inner person. Like it did. I listened to the president, and he wasn't just speaking. He was actually communicating, especially when he said there will be monitoring committees to monitor. Everyone's hand must be on deck. And for me, his leadership is actually key. I'm saying that this is me now. For the fact that he has come out when it came to that labor minimum wage one, he came out, he didn't fold his arms to say, okay, let my delegates handle it. I have a mouthpiece, I have a rep. He actually came out to ensure that this 70,000 naira will be implemented, like we said, next week by the grace of God. And now with this protest, not folding his hands to say, oh, what can they do? After all, I have the military backing or whatever. But he is out there to actually dialogue with these individuals and even saying, okay, for democracy, I actually protested, but it wasn't violent. So he's trying to pass a message. Please, for as much as you want to pass a message, let it be peaceful. And at the same time, listen to dialogue. Listen to coming together of rich religious leaders, and of course the president and these organizers, for there to be a dialogue so we will not have a Nigerian problem. Let us avoid such. It's very important, because really, when we say a Nigerian problem, it affects you and I. So we just pray.
You know, very important points you raised here, Juma. As we have this conversation, it's a reminder of what the president had said sometime last year, that nothing about this job shocks him or should shock him, because according to him, He already understood fully the weights of this office before
Very
he took
true,
it up. And
very
he
true.
shared that same spirit and message with his foot soldiers, as I like to call them, all right, cabinet members, to say, look, nothing should become news to you. We are here to do a job, all right? We already know the shape in which we picked up the country, economically in particular. So let's not feign ignorance. Let's not act surprised. This is what it is. I mean, we've got a job in front of us to do, and we've got to deliver it for and on behalf of Nigerians.
Very true.
Right? So I'm sure that this issue of this planned protests, scheduled to begin on the 1st of August to run through the 10th, it's not a surprise to the president. Of course, like you mentioned, he had already said yesterday to those he met with, to say, I'm not new to protest. I mean, if there's any such appellation as a veteran in protest, I've been there, done that. However, I didn't bring violence into the mix.
Exactly.
It was peaceful, all right? It was about the issues. I can deduce, I'm not saying that's categorically, unequivocally what it is. I can deduce from the president's statement and his body language that he's saying, by all means, your right to protest is inalienable.
It's a fundamental
nobody
human
can take
right.
away from you. But I'm concerned, I'm bothered as the commander-in-chief, as the chief executive, you know, as the father of the nation, for this not to get out of hands, for things not to spiral out of control in such a way that we are now dealing with chaos, with disaster, with catastrophe, instead of answering questions around the economy, social development, and infrastructure. I think that's very instructive to know, because in the end, the buck stops with the president, and that's obviously is not news. However, going forward, I think one of the things we should pay attention to is how we must learn to attend to issues of national interest as quickly as possible.
Yes.
If we had attended to some of these issues today, which of course predates the government of President Tinubu, we won't be talking about planned protests that will run for 10 days.
That's very true. If we took the issue of individuals in Niger State where they were protesting about the high cost of living and then looting of all of these warehouses, I think if the government would have taken that seriously, I don't think we'll be here now. It's very important that the government should understand that Nigerians are going through a lot. Normally, back in the day, I could take 1,000 naira and buy tomatoes, pepper, onions, and make very quick jollof rice with eggs if I can. But now you cannot do that. When you're talking about pepper, you can, like for 500 naira, you can get like 5. Really, the economy is biting hard. That is why individuals need a quick fix. It's not something that you can linger like the minimum wage. No, this is different. This is in the Pigeon Palace, Nabelewi they talk about here. So that is why this needs to be taken as seriously as possible. For as much as the president, our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is having these closed-door meetings with these religious leaders and individuals that can speak and actually calm the organizers and the protesters down, at the same time, he should have a quick fix. Because really, if you want to fix this today and end all of these things today, you can. And the truth is, let us look at yam in the market, Uyi. 5 tubers is 20,000 naira.
That is 4,000 a piece.
Exactly. So it is that bad. Normally, you can buy 5 tubers for 6,500, 7,500. It depends on the size, but this is as small as. So it is a serious matter, like I said. So as much as the president and of course the government wants to have a dialogue with organizers, and of course the organizers will pass the message to protesters, okay, but it shouldn't be something that, okay, we've talked about it now till next week. No. We need a quick fix and we need it now, which is very important. But at the same time, let us listen to dialogue for the sake of Nigeria. Very important.
I think that's some wisdom you just spoken there, Jumai. But in that same wisdom, we're taking a quick break now. In a few minutes, so we're joined by a guest to put our conversation on the road here on Global Morning Fridays edition. We're back shortly.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress report on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
Abuja Rail Mass Transit is a regional rail transport system in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. It is a second rapid transit system in West Africa. The first phase of the project connects the city center to Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, stopping at the Abuja-Kaduna Railway Station in Ido, with more than 2,000 passengers boarding per day. The Abuja Metro Station project, which has been idle for years, was commissioned in 2018 by former President Muhammadu Buhari, and on May 29, 2024, President Bola Tinubu flagged it off for commercial operations. According to the design of the rail, the project is to cover a total distance of 290 kilometers and is meant to be developed in 6 phases.
The facilities we have now is modern facilities. We have what we call DMU, diesel multiple unit, popularly called locomotives. And we have 12 DMU, and each DMU consists of 4 locomotives. So, in other words, we have 48 locomotives on ground now. And the tracks, they are, double, gauge tracks. So, and you can see the stations. They are modern stations. So far, so good. We have recorded over 30,000 passengers since we started 30th of May 2024.
The Abuja Rail Transit has a future expansion of Lot 2 from Gwagwa via Transportation Center to Nyanya Karu. Lot 4 is from Kuje to Kashi, with the remaining legs of the transit way in Line 2. Lot 5 from Kubwa via Buari to Suleja. Lot 6 from Airport via Kuje and Gwagwalada to Dobi.
This is actually my first time boarding a train, and I'm so happy and so glad for the federal government to bring this into Abuja, and this is really, really, really a nice experience for me.
The train is clean, and as you can see, the securities inside there are doing their work. The federal government, I will commend them on this particular development because it's a welcome development in the city centers of Abuja. So people who are coming from the Basanjua to the city centers, who are working in the central areas, they find it very, very easy because due to the cost of the transportation now, fuel cost is too high. People cannot actually afford to use their vehicles to go to work every morning. So they are using the means of this fast light rail to go to their workplaces.
Been on board of the train for more than 11 times, and I feel good that the government provide for us a free and reliable transport for everybody.
Or at least on this one, they did very well.
We are already live inside the train, about to move in less than 5 minutes down to the airport, which is the final stop for today's. And of course, the experience right here, the passengers already boarding, is quite electrifying, giving a lot of commentaries about how they feel about the train. Generally, this is also in a bid by the federal government to cushion a lot of transportation pressure on the residents of the Federal Capital Territory. And we can see the passengers are already boarding, sitting behind and having a feel of what the train really looks like. For some of them, this is the first time, but for others, it has been on operations right from 30th May till today. They have been boarding the train to and fro. And this is also a way of also encouraging the fact that the experience of the train station and the fact that the security right here is also safe for the passengers.
The commencement of commercial operations of the Abuja Rail Mass Transit Project is to solve the perennial transportation problem in the Federal Capital Territory and its adjoining towns and cities. The project will also be a reliable alternative to road transport, help alleviate traffic congestion in Abuja, and reduce strains associated with heavy traffic. The light rail system will also provide mobility for residents to access various parts of the city, as well as support social inclusion and provides greater access to employment, education, and healthcare facilities.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and it repeats every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global, a on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet events to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chung Animal Joseph on Global Television.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. Can we not say that again? Because
that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Hello, children. Gather around, let me tell you a story.
Do you know that stories have a way of captivating the minds of children, bringing fun and imagination to teach them morals? Join Sharon Ajay as she takes you to explore the thrilling and exciting world of storytelling.
I'll be sharing with you our next interesting story.
Tune in every Saturday on Global Television, time 5:30 p.m.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momadou. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Beautiful work from the wingers.
Global TV concept is the emerging, brand that everybody must watch. So I subscribe, and I'm prescribing that we must all be ready to begin to watch Global TV.
So keep watching Global TV, especially for updates on agriculture, food, commodities, and without food, there is no great nation.
So please watch Global TV because it's going to change your life.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point, this is business.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Get in on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
We're joined this morning by a public policy consultant to help us find angles to the developments in the country as it stands today with all of the challenges we are dealing with as a country. Ima Azoimena, thank you for coming on Global Morning this Friday.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Let's begin with the issue of local government election. Annex says we can conduct elections. However, we have a challenge, which is resources. Of course, you and I know that INEC's mandates basically does not include conducting elections for councils, but there have been calls very recently for that narrative to change because they say governors have emasculated the system in such a way that they use states' electoral independent commissions as quote-unquote special purpose vehicles to achieve self-serving objectives. How do we situate this going forward, again, in light of these judgment by the Supreme Court?
I think, first of all, let me speak to the judgment by the Supreme Court. If you read that judgment, I mean, the full judgment is in the public domain. You're likely going to find that what the honorable justices of the Supreme Court did was more of looking at the spirit of the law instead of the letter, because clearly some of those issues raised by the Attorney General of the Federation had been raised previously. Incidentally, Yemi Osinbajo, as the Attorney General of Lagos State in 2002, had gone to court. You remember when the Lagos State government, also under the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu,
as the then governor,
created over 50 local government areas, and President Olusegun Obasanjo withheld the allocations to local government areas on the basis that these local governments were not listed in the Constitution. If you read, Supreme Court delivered judgment on it in 2004. They said, look, those local government areas, state houses of assembly have a right to create local government areas. But then you move it to the National Assembly to be gazetted as part of local government areas to be created. So the point is this. If you look at the spirit and letter of federalism, federalism means the component units have more power than the federal. So what we have at the moment, it's a unification or more of centralized government. And that started in 1966. I mean, there's a unification decree by the late Major General J.T.U. Aguiyi-Ironsi, Unification Decree 37. Gowon, continued with it. And subsequently, what we have is a federalism in name. Look at the revenue allocation formula. Take, for instance, in the U.S. In the U.S., the states conduct election. There's no federal there's a Federal Electoral Commission, which is more or less a coordinating body. The secretaries of state for each state is a chairperson, chairs the Electoral Commission at the state level. That's why you could say Florida will have a different procedures for requirements for election. Arkansas will have a different one. Texas will have, Tennessee will have, and that's what federalism is all about, where the component units actually controls the other one is simply to coordinate. So what I have seen happen over time in Nigeria is I thought we were going to move towards devolution of powers. And that's what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had canvassed for across his political career. But you see some sort of a 180-degree turnaround. So I look at it and I ask myself, where are we really heading to? Are we not supposed to be devolving powers? It hasn't happened. I thought that's where we should have been going. But again, INEC and conducting local government elections, this is not the first time. In 2002, the National Assembly with Pius Anyim Pius as the president of the Senate and the late Honorable Gali Umar Naba had made a law. They enacted a law mandating the then INEC. I think INEC chairman then was Dr. Ebe Gubadia, was the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission. And they were to conduct an election. The Argonne and I think Argonne went to court to challenge it. And the Supreme Court ruled on it and threw it away. That conduct of local government election is actually that of the state. So even if we think we have seen from evidence, governors, I mean, if you have an APC governor in a state, all the council election and the councillors will be from the same party. That's actually a weakness of not having a weak umpire. The question to ask, at the federal level, don't we have a weak umpire? Can you, if you ask to rate INEC, how would you rate INEC? So I listened to the chairman of Independent Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood. I looked at it and laughed when he said, look, we have conducted election, look at our track record, I said, what track record are you even talking about? What track record? I mean, I thought, the standard set by Professor Jega that now would have, increased or strengthened the delivery of electoral services. But I can tell you for free, we haven't got there.
Are you saying between, Juma is going to step in a minute to help expand this conversation, but in the meantime, just to respond quickly to the last point you made as you want Dow, are you saying the reforms and all of the changes you're seeing between when Jega left and then Professor Mahmood came on board are not commendable enough? Don't you see them as milestones?
No, what we have had was, you could say 3 steps forward, 7 steps backward. Ask me why. In that election, there were some new innovations.
That's 2023, you mean?
2023 election that we thought INEC as a body would have walked through. One of them is the election results should be clearly real time. I have someone who was in Namibia in 2014. December 2014, Namibia held an election, December, November. And she told me that as they were there, the results were streaming. In front of the National Electoral Commission, there's a big screen. People were watching. As they were voting in the various regions, the results, real time, the results were streaming. There's no paperwork anywhere. The results were streaming. So at that point, you can know who is winning and who is not winning. So this idea of type, write manually, then scan, for me, it's, technology has got in such a way, if you do a transfer to me now, if I give you my account number and you transfer, I get it real time. And banks in Nigeria, have millions of customers. And the thing is real time. So technology has gotten in such a way that we could have such a system as people are voting. you get the real-time, result of that voting. So you don't need to, the more you reduce human element in processes, the more you get more reliable results.
Outcome, right?
Yeah, outcomes.
And we know this issue for me, I know it borders around finance. When we go back and forth, local government, it borders about the local government not getting that independence they need to run their particular state. Now, I was wondering, what are the main obstacles hindering the financial autonomy of local governments in Nigeria?
If you look at the Constitution is clear that the state houses of assembly shall make laws. There are two legislative bodies recognized by the Constitution. What you have as local government legislative bodies are actually administrative, because the laws they make are not, in the Constitution it's clear their role. You have National Assembly making the laws for the Federal Capital Territory, and you have the state houses of assembly making the laws
for their respective states.
That's why, for instance, in this local government issue, states say Nasarawa could have a 3-year tenure, Abia has a 2-year tenure, Edo has a 1-year tenure. You know that? So each state house of assembly looks at their local circumstances before making that laws. So what you call joint account, in fact, in the amended constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended, recognizes a joint account where this money should be paid to. Yeah. Now, if you think the governors are having overbearing influence, you could perhaps ask the citizens of that state, it's their responsibility to demand for accountability from their governors. That's one. I mean, incidentally, people who are today playing at the top, at the national level, were governors. So ask for the records. How did they govern the states they govern, including everybody in most people in National Assembly are former governors. And if the Constitution, as amended, 1999 Constitution, recognizes the joint account, so it's actually left, accountability process is left for the people are the citizens in that state to demand. I mean, you have Freedom of Information Act, you can act on and request, I am in Onitsha South local government area, I want to know so and so. And it will be given to you. If it's not given to you, after I think 14 days, you go to court, and there will be an order of the court. So the point is, we must try to, as a country, to strengthen federalism and not centralism. Because from what I have seen so far happening in most places, it's more of centralism than federalism. Federalism, I cherish. Take the instance of United States. A couple of weeks ago, months ago, you saw some states saying, in the ballot in our state, we're not going to have Donald Trump on the ballot. So it took Donald Trump going to the Supreme Court to challenge that. We're going to take you off. So that shows you the level of independence
that states have.
In fact, at the RNC, Republican National Convention, that held in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin last week, you saw what happened. In fact, the city where in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the convention was held, the mayor of the city is a Democrat. He's saying, look, we want to want people to come to our state. He's looking at, what, I listened to him, what the money the city is going to make, the tourism they are going to make, and then the attraction, the city becomes the center of attraction for that
because the event ran for days.
Yes, ran for a week. Each time delegates from California were introduced, you say delegates from the Commonwealth of California, Commonwealth of Texas, Commonwealth of Florida. So that shows you the level of independence states in the United States have. Because you remember it was original 13 states in 1776 that met in Philadelphia Pennsylvania, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. And each of these states had a representative. Today, in the city of District of Columbia, which is the seat of government in the US, it's not a state. District of Columbia is a city governed by a mayor. I have said severally that what you have as Abuja is actually a misnomer. It can't be a federal capital. Federal capital in name, but a state in every sense of the word. Because each time you say 36 state and federal capital territory. To begin with, the size of FCT is too large. You have 8,560 square miles for a capital city. What is the size of Paris? What is the size of London, central
As
London?
we know it, yes.
It's actually a state you're creating. Lagos is 3,640 square miles. That's Lagos, and has 20 million, or is said to have 20 million population. Anambra is 4,650. So FCT is twice size of Lagos.
Landmass.
In landmass. So how are you going to develop it? How are you going to govern? You need a governor. And that's why you have the minister of FCT. In fact, the president is the governor having a representative as a minister. Some have argued, some legal scholars have argued, when they say you must have 25% in FCT, it means the people, residents of FCT must have a right, opportunity, or privilege to vote in who becomes the president. So in that case, that president transfers his right to govern, because he is busy, to a minister who acts on his behalf. If you look at the Constitution, there shall be a minister for Federal Capital Territory. The president may appoint.
Right.
You know, so what I'm saying essentially, I think we have an opportunity. Now there's a constitutional reform at the National Assembly to move closer to federalism instead of centralism. I think INEC, if you ask me, do they have the capacity to govern? Perhaps what National Assembly should be looking at, assuming you need to have a commission that will conduct local government elections, it can be INEC, because they are incompetent, if you ask me. They don't have the capacity. How many staff do they have across the country? INEC headquarters in each state, how many do they have? They have not demonstrated that fidelity even to Nigerians. Because ask me, why do I think they have not demonstrated that?
Why?
If you look at the number of litigations that comes after each election, that shows you, that is a pointer that people don't have faith.
The scholars say some of those litigations are frivolous.
Well, until you read the judgments, I'm not sure there's been any court that declared any election litigation as frivolous. I haven't seen that. Not to my knowledge. I don't know. Have you read any of such judgments?
But how do we plug such gap where every other election cycle, whether it's general or off-grid, INEC gets bashed for it? So how do we close that gap?
Okay. I have spoken to quite a lot of people in the last 25 years. I've been in the field monitoring elections. I've been in the field reporting elections. I've been extraying public policies in the last 25 years. So what I have found out essentially is this. On election day, INEC has less than 0.2%, or say 2% of the operators of the election processes who are their staff. They have a direct responsibility on. You can't have responsibility on someone who is not your staff. Whether security, people coming from the security agencies, the coppers, the civil servants who are hired, the ad hoc staff, and they constitute the larger, about 98% of the people. So how much of internalization of the procedure have they inculcated? That's one. Half of them would have been sponsored by politicians, obviously. They are representing the interests of political operators.
So the system is faulty right from the start.
Because they are representing the interests of political operatives. They definitely would be able to. In 2015, you had during the presentation of the result from one of the states, someone saying, I wrote it by myself. Remember, they asked the guy, the professor, to read, and he couldn't read it. If you author a document, you should be able to read it. You should, in terms of, it's called ownership. So what I think, by and large, is that we might need to take another look at, should we even have INEC? Why not to adopt the US system that is in consonance with a federal processes?
Have we gotten to that level in which we can adopt that
it's
US
not a
system?
question of level. Take, for instance, we had the...
We barely, our machines, barely, do they work when it comes to...
We had an election in the UK a few days ago.
No, that's the UK. Let's talk about Nigeria now.
She's asking if our machines in Nigeria
are
work.
working. Are they really working for us to adopt these, the adoption in which you're talking about?
No, it should be more or less political operatives. You know, on an election day, part of the problem you have is actually lies with the political operatives who would want to win election at all costs. You saw the UK Prime Minister say, look, the Conservative Party, we've been in power, they were in power for 14 years. And they lost an election. And the man said, look, we lost. If you had anybody in the UK, you had spoken with him or her ahead of the election, they would tell you, look, Conservative Party is gone. It was obvious. The signs were there. And I have a couple of friends who are retired civil servants who participated, who were part of the people who delivered that election. Ahead of time, I asked them, how is Conservative Party doing? They said, look, they are gone. But here in Nigeria, you can't be sure a party is gone, whether they do well or not.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's weak systems. If the umpire is not properly strengthened, it's not clearly, truly independent, you're going to have challenges.
Should we amend the Constitution in such a way that we take away from the President the prerogative to appoint the chairman of INEC?
I remember, I think in one of your programs earlier, that should be last week or so, I was talking about, or maybe in another platform, but I had talked about perhaps what we need to do is to adopt the South African model. In South Africa, you advertise the positions in the Electoral Commission, and people apply. You publish their name. You ask people to write in response. Attestation. People who have issues would state it. Look, this guy shouldn't be there. So if you do that, so recruitment process is important. Confirmation process is important. You saw what happened in the UK in the US a couple of days ago. Donald Trump was shot, and the director of
FBI.
No, Secret Service.
Secret Service, yes.
Resigned.
Was asked to come before the Parliament, and it was a bipartisan,
Congress
committee.
Right.
The next day, she put in her papers and walked away. And she accepted responsibility. So it's a failure of the service.
Yeah. And
that's about institutions. So what I think we may need to do as we look at the constitutional amendments is to look at how do we hire people into INEC? How do we appoint state electoral commissioners? Whose responsibility should it be? Because if you have a more inclusive process of recruitment, perhaps that might help. I mean, and you should have representatives of various segments of the society, women representatives, civil society, professional groups, and all that. Because when you leave appointment to within one circle, you may not likely get the best of outputs. I listened to an expert recruiter speak some time ago, and he was talking about if you throw appointments open, advertise and ask people to apply, that you're likely going to get a diverse kind of energy, skills, experience into your organization. But when you pick your friends, you might not likely get the best because the people within your circle might not give the best of outputs.
I think we're going to take a quick break now, Mr. Zomena, because we have a second discussion that we need you to also weigh in on quickly this morning. We're back shortly as we come back to wrap it up with our second and indeed our last conversation on the program. Do stay with us.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress report on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
So let's jump right on it, Mr. Zomena. The second conversation we have right now. A protest has been planned to hold between the 1st and 10th of August. President Bola Tinubu appears to have moved quickly, even though it's just days away. Yesterday, he met with a number of entities. The first was with the governors of the All Progressives Congress. Then he also met with the Ulamas, met with prominent traditional rulers, all in the bid to ensure that tension is doused on the one hand, and on the other hand, this protest in itself is shelved. If not, at least whatever chaos or, if you like, pandemonium that could have come with it is also averted. The protesters and the organizers say this is about their response to the economic hardship being faced by the country. Do Nigerians, for the most part, expect President Bola Tinubu to have performed quote-unquote magic this last 1 year?
I think I'm sure I've said severally that whatever you have as increase in price, inflation and all that began on May 29th.
Last year.
2023. How did it begin? When, after the inauguration of the president, he says subsidy is gone. That sent a shock to the market. The market reacted. And the explanations that came later that, oh, it was part of the official inaugural speech. It hasn't started. We're still looking at that policy. We haven't commenced it. It's, nobody listened to it. The scripture says there's power in the word of the king. So when someone exercises authority and you speak, everybody takes it as the policy. Perhaps that's why for people who hold top-level positions, MDs of banks, CEOs, they want to write their speech and stick to it. Because a written speech takes a lot of processes to do. What it does is that you would have thought through it. What would be the reaction of this? What would be the... And I tell you, from the evidence in the street, the country has not recovered from that. The moment you remove subsidy, take, for instance, the agricultural products, the means of transportation or mobility to move the produce, the commodity, from the farm to the market is 99.9% based on land transport. And prices of fuel went up, and you can't ask the man, go back to the old price. prices of fertilizer went skyrocketed. In 2023, at the beginning of the planting season, fertilizer sold for less than 10,000 naira. Now it's gone up. The man who does land preparation needs gas to power the tractor. And the price has gone up. So he's going to triple the cost. The last day of Buhari, a bag of rice sold for not more than 45,000 naira. How much is a bag of rice today?
70.
Huh?
70,000.
So if you check the margin, it's huge. The increase is huge. I mean, Mama Put on the street who sells his food for, say, 300 naira has moved it up to 1,000, 1,005. That's the least you can get anywhere in Abuja now. So the cost of living is real. So how is the government addressing it? I've seen clips and statements about, we are trucking trucks of rice to the communities. Who does that rice get to? That's the first question to ask. I think I saw a report of security agencies tracking some rice, trucks of rice that were diverted. I think I read it earlier this morning. So it shows that that's not the way to go. And no country survives on what you call palliative. Countries survive when you have clear-cut economic policy that drives development, that drives activity, that drives job, that drives growth, that drives stability, economic stability, that pushes down inflation. Because the moment, it's like pouring, the idea of, even if you like, go and bring 100 trucks of rice. The first question, where are those rice coming from, is important. Because if you just import and pump into the system, incidentally, in agriculture, there's what is called a guaranteed minimum price. It's a system, it's a price control mechanism in agriculture. What it means is that at the beginning of the planting season, usually there's scarcity of food. But at the other harvest, during harvest, there's a glut in the market. And glut in the market means that you have produced so much commodities. So what government does, it's even in our agricultural policy, is to buy up those produce, you mop it up from the market, and then store it at the silos. In times like this, you release it into the market system, so it pushes down the price. Right. You don't distribute it to people. There's a National Food Reserve Agency. I think their headquarters used to be somewhere in Gwagwalada on your way out of town, out of Abuja. And that's what I think should have been done. Should be going on. Release it into the market, and the thing because grains have a longer shelf life if you preserve it very well. That's why you have silos across the country. I think there are about 26 or 30 silos across various parts of the country. But I haven't seen so much of that being deployed in this. So what happens to the silos? Very important. So I think in managing economy, it's more or less methodic. There are principles you must follow. If you look at what happens most of the time now, it's more or less fire brigade approach. I'm going to release this, they are fire brigade. They are not thought out plans. I haven't seen a plan on how we want to create jobs, how many jobs we intend to create, the sectors where we're going to plug these jobs. But that's how economy works. Incidentally, in the last 23 years, I followed the U.S. labor department. On a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, you're going to see reports of jobs created. I don't know what the Ministry of Labor and Productivity does in Nigeria, perhaps it's only to...
In our case, we have removed productivity, so it's employment now, labor and employment.
Yeah. Perhaps what they do is to ASU government to find what they call social intervention of ensuring that you have a good working relationship. But it should be more than that. They should be able to create data, mine data, be innovative about job creation, but I haven't seen much of that. And then, what support do private sectors get? If you look around, if you listen to key players in the private, they're all complaining. I mean, the truth is that companies are shutting down. There is one of the biggest, one of the big shops that said, oh, we are shutting down our processes at the central area in Abuja. I think they shut down June 30th or so.
Okay.
Because they were arguing, look, we can't run afloat. It's not profitable. Just think about, assuming they had 100 people working there, they are all on the street now. That's the implication.
All right, let's talking about implications. Now, what are the implications of high-profile individuals aligning with the president to halt this freedom of expression when it comes to protests?
The point is that if people are saying, look, the protest is driven by hardship, they call it hardship protest. I think what you should address is what are the drivers of that hardship, not high-profile individuals. High-profile individuals maybe for political optics.
No, I think maybe the reason why is because most individuals look up to this high-profile individuals.
Okay, in terms of influencers.
Yes, to douse the situation.
But
bring calm.
But you have not addressed key issues. People say they are hungry. So how do you address hunger? That should be for me, if I'm an advisor to the government, I should be saying, look, can we think out of the box? How do we address the issue of hunger? That would be my basic preoccupation. Not the high-profile individuals. Agreed, people can influence people, agreed, but how many people can they influence? And is it sustainable? As the second thing to do. The key thing to do is, speak to the nation, tell Nigerians, I would do A, B, C, D to achieve so and so. I listened to the Minister of Information, he spoke well. He said the president, the federal government are doing all to address these issues. But for the people on the street, they want to see results.
Right.
I think that's what bothers everybody on the street. But also, at a personal level, I think perhaps what people should do is to engage and not to protest. If you look at the impact of protests in Kenya, Kenya's economy relies on over 73% on tourism. This is summer. People from Europe and America, Australia and what have you, are supposed to be visiting East Africa. They're all thronging to East Africa now. But nobody would go to Kenya. People would prefer to go to Tanzania, Namibia, South Africa, Uganda, because all those economies are rely over 70% on tourism. Durban, where Mandela was born, over millions of people visit his childhood home, visit his house, visit his prison at Robben Island on a yearly basis. And it's a huge, huge economy. It's a huge chunk of the economy. So it means in 2025, Kenya may not even have a budget to run the economy. I listened to William Ruto saying, look, don't expect anything from me, because the country will be broke. So what happens after the protest? We'll go back to negotiating table. So why don't we go to negotiating table
already
first? Let's explore that option. There's hardship. How do we solve hardship? Okay, perhaps you could ask the organizers, what are your ideas about tackling this hardship? Tackling hunger, tackling food inflation, tackling what have you. Let them bring their ideas to the table. Let's talk. And those ideas can be clearly articulated, agreed on, timeline will be given. You saw in January 2012, in the aftermath of the fuel hike protests against President Goodluck Jonathan, the government sat down, drew a plan. There was a probe of NNPC over some certain, things. They said they will accelerate the then PIB, which is now PIA, even though they didn't keep to it, because the government tenure elapsed without getting a PIB passed into law. And then, but they said they were going to build, I remember Jonathan committing to building refineries, one modular refineries in each of the geopolitical zone. Then the NNPC managing director, I think Mr. Omiye comes from Kogi State, and there was that argument that where the thing will be built, whether Kogi or elsewhere. Those modular refineries never saw the light of day. But at least to an extent, it helped.
We're going to take a quick break now, Mr. Zemena. When we return, the rest of the program. Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Notice of meeting. This is to inform all state chairmen of our party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, that there will be a meeting between the National Working Committee and the state chairman, scheduled as follows. Date, Friday, 26 July 2024. Time, 3 p.m. Venue, National Working Committee Hall, APC National Secretariat, Abuja. Agenda, State of the Nation. Progress report on party structures in the states. Please note, attendance is compulsory for all state chairmen of the party. Signed, Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, PhD, National Secretary.
to wrap it up now. Mr. Zamina, in 2 minutes, how do we find a way to quickly end this? Because 1st of August is Thursday of next week. Quickly.
I think it won't be a walk in the park, but I think it's doable in terms of if the government should find a way of reaching out to the aggrieved parties or leaders of the protests. I mean, speak to the issues that they are canvassing for, appeal to them. I've seen quite the appeal in the public space. Ask them for their input into how to move the economy and country forward. You recall a few minutes ago I talked about if it's addressing food inflation, what should we do? What are the options?
So what
are the immediate, what are the low-hanging fruit we can get through in the next couple of weeks? What is the immediate and long-term, solutions in terms of ensuring food and nutritional security? If it's around the issue of job, do hard thinking. I mean, the point is that people in government may not be the only people who have an idea on how to run the economy.
There are other Nigerians who may be able to come to the table and bring value as well.
You can even create a bureau for collection of collection of ideas. Ask people to send in the ideas.
This is getting interesting, I won't lie, but then time will fail us to push this conversation beyond this point. I would like to say a big thank you to you, Emma Ozamina, public policy consultant, for coming to speak with us about these issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, with that, we have to wrap up the program on Global Morning. Hope you were well informed and you've learned a lot this beautiful Friday morning. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And from Uyi and I, we have to wrap it up. I am Jumai Manson, my co-host Uyi Agbomofuegbe. We say have a pleasant morning. Stay tuned and keep watching Global Television. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled, we asked to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.